These delectable shrimp pies will leave you craving for more. Even my daughter, who isn't a fan of shrimp, couldn't resist these pies and devoured 3 of them. Stick around to discover the secret to their authentic Caribbean flavor, served hot with homemade hot sauce. If you're interested, let's start cooking! If you've been following my videos, you know that green seasoning is the secret behind many delicious Caribbean meals. But if you don't know what green seasoning is, don't worry, we're going to make some from scratch. Today we're using culantro, green bird pepper, pimento pepper, garlic, thyme, and scallion. We're going to rinse, chop these ingredients and place them in the bowl of a food processor and pulse until smooth, but not too fine. You still want a little texture. I always keep a bag or 2 of frozen, peeled, and deveined wild-caught shrimp in the freezer for the sake of convenience and to save on time. I rinsed the shrimp with cold water, removing any shells or undesirables, and I drained it. Next, I seasoned the shrimp with that delicious green seasoning we made: salt, black pepper, all-purpose seasoning, my own homemade blend, and a little bit of adobo, my homemade blend as well. Feel free to use store-bought. Toss it well to combine with all those delicious seasonings, and I'll marinate for at least 30 minutes. But if you have time, you can do it overnight, covered in the fridge. Next, let's cook the shrimp. We'll take the seasoned shrimp out of the fridge and let it come to room temperature. Then I'll heat oil in a frying pan over high heat, and I'm using olive oil. Add chopped onion and hot pepper, that step is optional, and place the shrimp in the hot oil. We'll cook until golden brown on both sides, about 3 to 4 minutes per side on medium heat. Just a tip: to get that shrimp nice and brown, place the shrimp in a single layer and do not stir for a minute or 2. Once the shrimp has achieved a golden brown color in the bottom, you can start stirring. But cook it on high heat and cook it quickly. We want to prevent a rubbery or overcooked shrimp. The kitchen smells heavenly and I'm already ready to dig in. Pour the shrimp out onto a plate and then let's start the second batch. A little oil goes in, then the optional onion and pepper. Use pimento, hot pepper, or bell pepper. Then the shrimp goes in an even single layer and we'll cook until golden brown on both sides, and then we'll pour it out onto a plate. While the shrimp is cooling, let's prepare the dough. And you can prepare the dough prior to making the shrimp, it's all up to you. In a bowl, add all-purpose flour, salt, sugar, and baking powder. Then we'll mix well to combine. Then we'll gradually add organic, free-range water. Just joking, that's not a real thing yet. Just add any regular old water and knead until a soft, smooth dough forms. To make kneading easier, employ the cooking with weird kneading methods. The first step is gently squeezing the dough between your fingers to bring it together. You really don't have to choke the life out of it at this point. Feel free to remove the dough from the bowl to get those dry bits at the bottom. Next, roll it around to create a cohesive ball. Essentially, we're just trying to make everything stick together. And while you're down there, try to clean the bowl as best as you can. Saves on scrubbing later on. Next, it's knuckle press time to smoothen the dough, and that will be followed by some gentle kneading. Just be nice to the dough and it will reward you in the end. Don't fold it over, just bring the dough to the center. To finish off, rub in some oil or butter, make into a big loya or a ball. Oil your dish or butter your dish, place the dough in, cover it, and allow it to rest for a minimum of 30 minutes for best results. Now that the dough is resting and the shrimp has cooled, let's prepare the filling. We'll place 3/4 of it in the food processor and we'll pulse several times to chop coarsely. I don't want it too fine, Well, I don't want it too fine. If you want it fine, you can chop it fine. Alternatively, you can chop the shrimp by hand using a chopper or sharp knife. Then you'll combine the chopped shrimp with the remaining whole shrimp, adding additional green seasoning if required. Here is just a glimpse of what was happening all the way in New York as a result of the Canadian wildfires. It was eerie, hazy, and the air was filled with smoke, and later on the sun took on a reddish color. You may have seen it in my stories. The garden, on the other hand, is slowly coming along. I was away for 3 weeks, which is why there wasn't any significant progress. Well, I better head back inside because they said the air quality is worse than India and China. It's time to assemble the pies, but the first thing I'm going to do is pour a couple of cups of oil into my pot and heat it over slow heat. Next, I'm going to divide the dough into 12 small balls. I usually make 3 large balls and divide each into 4. You can make the balls smaller, but that will require a higher level of expertise and patience. I have the expertise, but unfortunately, I don't have the patience. Plus, why eat 2 small pies when you can eat 1 large, filling, satisfying pie? Or maybe 2 or 3 of those large pies. Just making smaller loyas or balls by smoothing the dough, pulling it up to the top, pinching and rotating. It's very simple. No fear, we're almost there. Now it's time to fill the dough. We'll lightly flour the surface or counter and flatten each dough ball into a 5 or 6 inch disc using your fingers. Next, I'll roll it out using a rolling pin just to smoothen and to ensure that it's even and to expand it a little more. Foodies love gadgets or love saving time in the kitchen, I hope. So I'm going to use this empanada press. I'm going to place the rolled out dough onto the press. Then I'm going to fill the dough with this shrimp filling. Only 1/2 or 1 side of the dough. I'm going to place a couple of heaping tablespoons of the shrimp filling. And then fold it over to easily seal the edges. No fuss, no hassle, no risks. In this case, practice makes perfect. And these presses come in various sizes, small, medium, and large, just in case you want to make various sizes of pies or empanadas. I'll leave the link to this specific product or brand in the description box below. If you don't have one of those presses, you can certainly do this by hand. Roll out the dough, fill with shrimp, and then bring the edges over to meet and then roll to seal. I've done this in my aloo pie and fish pie videos, so check them out if you want a little refresher. For your convenience and viewing pleasure, I will also leave the links to those videos in the description box below. Fill all or just fill a few before you start frying. If your dough is very soft and if you allow it to rest after you fill it for a long time, it may become unmanageable. Do what you're comfortable with. This press is definitely a keeper. It really saves on time and it lessens the risk of the pies opening during the frying process. And it looks pretty too. Now that the oil is hot, I'll gently place the filled dough into the hot oil, and I always start with only 1 to gauge the temperature of the oil before I become a little more adventurous and start adding 2 or 3. I'll also gently pour the hot oil over the dough to expedite the frying process, and when the bottom is golden brown, I will flip and cook the other side. When both sides are nicely golden brown, I'll drain on the side of the pot and place in a single layer on a paper towel or parchment paper lined tray. Then I will repeat the frying with the filled dough. If it's browning too quickly, the insides won't cook, so you want to cook it on a medium heat. If it's too low, the dough will absorb a lot of oil and it will become too oily. If it's too high, as I said before, it's going to burn or brown very quickly and the insides will be undercooked. So use a medium heat. And manage the heat up or down during the cooking process. I was concerned that the shrimp will not be enough for the 6 remaining dough balls I have, so I divided the shrimp. I know some of you are saying, just like my sister just said on the phone, oh, that's not enough shrimp filling, you really need to add more. So let me show you what happens if you add too much filling to the dough. First, you risk, if you're using the empanada press, you risk it not closing properly. And you also risk it breaking during the filling process. So I had to do a little patchwork, but it turned out okay. And I used a fork to seal it because it was just too stuffed. Next, I continued the filling and the frying, and wait until you see what happened to that overstuffed pie. And here I made a fried bake from the dough clip-ins from the empanada press. And here is our Mr. Overstuffed pie. Looks a little shaggy, feels like a pound, but I will tell you, I must confess, it was one of the most delicious pies I've ever eaten. As Marilyn Monroe once said, imperfection is beauty and madness is genius. And in our case, imperfection is also extra tasty. And that's all there is to it, my sweet friends. I hope you've enjoyed being in the kitchen with me or learned something new. You can enjoy these delicious shrimp pies with mango or tamarind chutney, or in my case, I did a mango habanero hot sauce. If your mouth is now watering and you're craving some delicious shrimp pies, please like, share, leave a lovely comment below, and subscribe if you wish to see more delicious videos. Until next time, stay safe, be well, cook, share, and love. Bye-bye.